your tune.
We're live. Is everybody pumped? Woohoo! Woo! Everybody's pumped. Good.
Oh, yeah.
My homage to Tony Robbins. Is everybody pumped?
Thank goodness that meditation's over.
Really? You had trouble with the meditation?
Yeah, it was brutal, man.
Brutal?
Brutal.
Oh, then you weren't doing it right. There's the right way and the wrong way. The right way is you should feel bliss.
Damn it.
It's a $5 penalty fee for that.
Damn. Oh, that
Yes, we're instituting penalty fees.
Like
shitty
like
meditations.
James Brown with his band.
Yeah.
If you made a mistake, they'd dock you. He would.
Really?
He'd be like, he'd kind of give you a dirty
like
look,
to
and he'd take some money out of your check.
Okay, we're actually getting into the Dharma talk now.
Sorry.
So,
No, enough of James Brown.
yeah.
all right, you did good earlier. Now you're
I'm slipping.
slipping. That's right. Zach got it. Now he's losing it.
$5 penalty.
All right. That's $3 more for you. Okay. Everybody else is charging. I might as well charge too. Screw this donation stuff. Okay. We're here to get deeper into the hindrances. And so far I've tried to exemplify all of them. And I think I've done a good job. Anyway, I have to apologize. Last week, I did 2 weeks ago, I did 2 unconscious errors. One, I was watching the video from then, and I had said that in the Pali Canon, the hindrances are not enumerated. I meant to say they were not elaborated. They are mentioned, but not in great detail. That's left up to the commentators. The other thing that I need to apologize for, and this is a very, very common error in Western teaching, is that people in the West, when they're writing about the 3 hindrances, the 5 hindrances, and the 10 fetters, often interchange the word fetter with hindrance. And there is a difference. And when I was watching the tape from 2 weeks ago, the video from 2 weeks ago, we don't use tape anymore, I realized that I had done the same thing. There is a difference between fetters, the 10 fetters, and the 5 hindrances. There aren't 10 hindrances. There's only 5. Don't you feel happy now? You only have to worry about 5 things, right? All right. The fetters are called sanyojana. And they are the fetters that bind the mind to cyclical existence. See Veta. Well, if you turn the page, Veta is
So
the
that's what
definition.
Zach was talking about with his rebirths and...
That's the cycle of birth, death, and
That's
rebirth.
Those 10 things were going on.
Right.
No,
And
uncertainty, where does uncertainty come in the meditation?
doubt. Oh, that's not in meditation. That's in rebirth and it happens within the mind. Fetters refers to what keeps us locked into cyclical existence. And cyclical existence happens in the mind. So even if you die and you're reborn as something else, mythical deity forbid that should happen to you, it is because a transition occurred in the mind, not the thing that is being produced by your brain, but by your mind, which is much greater than the stuff produced, the ideas and notions produced by your brain. The hindrances, nibbana, are the 5 hindrances. These are what happen in your meditation.
Okay, yeah.
Sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and anxiety, and then uncertainty.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the uncertainty is in the meditation. Is that like...
Well, if you're sitting there trying to meditate and you're thinking, well, this isn't going to work, I can't get my mind off this to concentrate on my breath, then an uncertainty has
That's
arisen.
doubt.
Yeah, it's doubt. Yeah, it's doubt in your ability to concentrate. An example of this is, okay, I'm going to go back to Salma Hayek. And I should too. When I'm sitting here and I'm meditating, I just love the feel of the breath. I can feel it in my stomach rising and flowing, just rising and flowing. Oh my God, there's Salma Hayek again. I just can't get to the breath because Salma Hayek is there. I keep looking at Salma Hayek. Oh, she looks so hot in that red dress. Oh yes, I just can't meditate, man. I just can't meditate because Salma Hayek says, why am I thinking about Salma Hayek?
Oh my God.
I just can't meditate because Salma Hayek is there because I choose to latch onto Salma Hayek. I have made a choice. I am not going to concentrate on the breath, which is pretty damned important. If you don't think the breath is important, try living without it. Then you'll find out. Salma Hayek is not important. But I can't get her out of my mind. Why? Because there's a sensual desire to think about Salma Hayek. I can't let go of her because I don't want to let go of her. If I'm sitting here all restless and everything because I'm thinking, oh my God, tomorrow I got to go see that guy and I really don't like that guy and that guy just drives me crazy. Man, I wish I could meditate and relax. Of course you can meditate and relax. Let go of the guy you're angry with. You don't have to think about him. You can choose what you think about. The thoughts that arise are not your choice. But thinking about the thoughts that arise is your choice.
So is that where we get into the obsessions when you're thinking about the thoughts that arise?
That's when those thoughts that arise become obsessions, and they're all related to the anusaya, the 7 latent tendencies. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at the chart on the reverse on page 2 of 21, you don't have all 21 pages. The rest of it's all notes and suttas and things. Okay. The 7 major obsessions to which the mind returns over and over and over again. Obsession with sensual passion. Well, that arises again to plague us both in our meditation and in our daily lives. The obsession with resistance. Things are changing. I can't handle that. I don't want things to change. Or I don't like the way things are right now. They said something that offended me. Or they said that not all Republicans are bad and I can't live with that, and you feel resistance. And it usually not only shows up as a mental quality, but it shows up as a physical quality as well. So then we can identify where the physical quality exists at.
What's the physical quality?
Churning stomach, headache, pounding in the head, muscle stiffness, storing tension somewhere in the body. One of the ways
that I find very hard to get past. That.
Because you're holding on to it.
The physical resistance.
Yeah, you hold on to the physical resistance. I noticed the thing when I used to throw temper tantrums as a kid, 3 years old, throwing temper tantrums. Every 3-year-old kid throws temper tantrums. My cat throws temper tantrums. One of my cats. The other one's an angel fallen from heaven. The other one came from the other place. Anyway, but she's adorable. Anyway, she'll throw a temper tantrum. And she goes, meow, 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 and she'll start shaking. Well, I noticed about 5 years ago, I do the same thing. And it comes from my temper tantrums as a kid. It worked when I was 3, it worked when I was 5, it worked when I was 7, not as well. It worked when I was 12, even less effective, but it still worked. When I was 17, it worked. That's how I got my prom date. Threw a temper tantrum, she went with me, and then I decided I didn't like her anyway. Went to where I got drafted, right?
It didn't work.
Threw a temper tantrum, took the entire Department of the Navy to get those temper tantrums out of me.
They didn't care.
They did not care
that you were throwing one.
No. Went to Vietnam, threw a temper tantrum. Got assigned to the Marine Corps as a medic. Okay. Now I'm really upset. I'm thinking, what else? If I throw another temper tantrum, what are they going to do with me now? Make me a tunnel rat? Is that what they're going to do? Send me into a tunnel? I'm a big guy. I can't get in a little tunnel. Anyway, so I stopped doing temper tantrums because they weren't working by that time. But I still feel like I want to do them. So I'll have a meeting with somebody, or I'll be teaching a class, or somebody will say something I don't like or refuse to give me something I don't want. I noticed I have a physical response. This is it. Tightness in my neck and shoulders, and snap my head back. And then I know, okay, what am I afraid of losing? Because temper, anger, anxiety all have to do with fear. The fear of loss of something, even if it's the loss of the opportunity to get something. And it doesn't have to be tangible. It can be like, loss of self-respect, loss of self-esteem, loss of, as they say in Asia, face. Nobody's going to buy my disguise anymore. Whoa, now I'm in trouble. So, as you can see in the chart, how they relate. Notice there are 10 fetters. There's only 7 hindrances, which, believe me, that's plenty. Yeah, or what did I say, hindrances? I meant obsessions.
Yeah.
See, now I'm doing it again. Because that's what we do in the West.
So my views, I can understand the correspondence to grasping at.
They're not correspondences, they're just a list.
They're just a list.
Just a list. They don't correspond that way.
Okay, all right.
But views, that's an interesting one. The self-identification is a view. Believing one political party is better than another party is a view. Believing somebody lied is a view. Because maybe the person didn't lie. Maybe they told you exactly what they had experienced or what they believed to be the truth, but you think it's not the truth. Therefore, you have the view that that person is untruthful. That's a view. It is not reality. So views, they do what? They support self-identification. Right? Go down the street to one of the local churches. I am a God-fearing person.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of the chosen. And the end days, I will be whisked up to heaven because I'm one of the, 144,000 or something?
Isn't that Jehovah's Witness?
No, that's the new book of Revelations.
Oh.
We can take anything and turn it into a view. What a view is sort of like a dogma. The trouble with a view is only an opinion. It isn't worth anything. People tend to think their opinions are very important. That's why we have Facebook. That's why we've got LinkedIn. That's why we've got Your Face and MyTube. Everybody thinks their opinion is incredibly important. You know what? Gold is valuable because it's rare. Opinions, everybody's got a dozen of them, so they must not have any value. I mean, they're worthless. It's like inflation. Opinions get devalued every day. Yeah, go ahead. Finally, you speak.
What happens if you have a view that child pornography is bad?
Child pornography is not bad. It's neither bad nor good. It just is, and it's terribly unskillful.
Okay.
It's very unskillful. It's unskillful because it harms. It harms the pornographer. It harms the person engaged in the pornography. It especially harms the person that is in the pornography, in the production of the pornography. It harms the government because the government has to, they're not getting their money.
But you don't say it's bad. You just say it's unskillful.
It's very
And it's
unskillful.
harmful.
And it's harmful.
Yes.
That doesn't make it bad.
Good and bad are judgment.
Right.
Saying it's harmful of you.
It's harmful to others. I have the opinion that child pornography is harmful to everyone who participates
So
in it.
that's still of you.
It's still a view.
It's still a view.
It's still a view. It's always a view. But at least you're not moralizing about it.
So it's not a judgment.
Right.
Well, it's-
Right.
So boy, isn't it one thing then to have a view, another thing when your views become obsessive or an obsession?
Yeah, when they interfere with the normal running of your life and when you start moralizing and making judgments about others.
So there's a big difference, and I mean,
Big
you
difference.
can have a view, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's an obsession.
Right. It doesn't mean it's an obsession. But a view also detracts from our own spiritual development. If we take it for gospel, once we take one of our views, any view, as this is the truth the way it is because I think so, then it becomes a fetter. It keeps us tied into the cycle of evolution.
And that's the fetter of grasping at precepts and practices.
No, that's the one of views.
You said, I don't see view under fetter.
No, that view is under obsession.
Yeah, views under obsession.
View is number one of the fetters.
Ties to mental samsa? Is that the view?
Oh, yeah, 'cause
Page one.
If you look at the middle column, she's not seeing views
Oh.
in the middle column.
Self-identification. It's number one.
Oh,
Okay.
views are oh, okay.
Views are self-identification,
Not
uncertainty,
grasping.
grasping at precepts, sensual passion, resistance, passion for form, passion for formless phenomena, conceit, restlessness, and unawareness.
So it could be any of those.
It's all of them.
All of them, okay.
Sorry.
That's the weird thing about the Anyasaya, the Samyojana, is that if you're doing one, to one degree or another, you're doing them all.
Uh-huh.
That is the really interesting thing about this, because really, if you are meditating and you observe one of these come up and you deconstruct it through observation, underneath that you'll find all the rest. They're all working together in concert, because remember, Dharma is holistic. If one thing is happening, everything is happening. Quantum physics has proven that two events cannot occur at the same time, as far as your reality is concerned. Because if I'm sitting here and Dan is picking his nose, I am not paying attention to the fan moving there. My attention is going back and forth, going, what a disgusting piece of work this guy is. And I'm looking back and forth. They're not happening at the same time. I have to shift my consciousness to notice it. And so they're two separate events happening at two different times, but they keep reoccurring because my consciousness is shifting back and forth. At the same time, quantum physics also shows that everything is happening right now, just not to me. 1874 is happening right now. So is 2174 happening right now. But I'm not conscious of those events. I'm conscious of these events here in this room, and not even all of them. Remember, I'm only picking up 0.5% of all the information that's available to me. If I picked up any more than that as a normal human being, my head would explode. Or, that's another expression for aneurysm, right?
Oh, you end up in the mental hospital.
Yeah. Or I go to where some people say I belong.
Hell.
That's another place.
That's what I thought.
But how do you know you're not in hell now?
Sometimes you are.
Sometimes you aren't.
No.
Hell is a mental condition. It's a mental state. It's not a physical state. Could be a physical state if you so desired it to be.
It's interesting with the realms, particularly if there can be some really the perfect storms of things, like if you have tendencies towards these lower realms, and then you're obsessing on the lower realms, you're in hell.
You're in hell.
You can basically say, yeah, I'm in hell because I'm in this place. I'm sure I'm here. I'm sure I'm always going to be here. So you're going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Thing is, if you're born in hell, or you're born in an animal realm, or you're born in any realm, for you that's normal. If you're born in hell right now, and there's sulfur everywhere, you have the perfect Christian hell with devils with pitchforks and they're impaling you and all that good stuff. For you, that would be normal, and so it wouldn't be a big deal.
A hell realm.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a big deal. It becomes a hell realm when you become conscious of it being a hell realm. And that's the weirdness about the way we live our life. The Malaparayaya Sutta, say that 3 times fast in front of a cop, and they will bust you for lack of sobriety. Do not say that word while you are driving. Okay. I'm going to avoid the translator's notes, which I included for your edification. But actually, I'm only going to read part of it. Parts of it. Here the Blessed One said, monks, and when it says monks, read disciple. Monks is a Western term.
Where are we?
Page 207 of the root text. That's the 7-page thing that starts out with the impronounceable word, Mulapariyaya.
Boy, is this from the original writings of the book?
Yes.
Or is this,
These are the original. These are from the original Pali Canon.
Oh, okay.
Well, translated into English.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the better translations. So.
Okay.
Where it says, I will teach you the sequence of the root of all phenomena. Listen and pay close attention, I will speak. And everybody says, as you say, sir. If this would have been an absolutely modern translation, it would have said, yo, monks. It would have started out something like that. And the Blessed One said, there is a cause, or a case. There is a case where an unstructured, run-of-the-mill person who has no regard for the noble ones, is not well-versed or disciplined in their Dhamma, who has no regard for men of integrity, is not well-versed or disciplined in their Dhamma, perceives the earth as earth. Perceiving earth as earth, he conceives things about earth. He conceives things in earth. He conceives things coming out of earth. He conceives earth as mine. He delights in earth. Why is that? Because he has not comprehended it. He does not understand it. He perceives water as water, fire as fire, wind as wind, beings as beings, gods as gods, Pajapati as Pajapati, Brahma as Brahma, the luminous gods as luminous gods, the gods of refulgent glory as gods of refulgent glory, the gods of abundant fruit as gods of abundant fruit, the conqueror as the conqueror, dimensions of the infinitude of space as dimensions of the infinitude of space, dimensions of the infinitude of consciousness as the dimension of the infinitude of consciousness, the dimension of nothingness as the dimension of nothingness, the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception as the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception. These are the 4 jhana states. The seen as the seen, the heard as the heard, the sensed as the sensed, the cognized as the cognized, singleness as singleness, multiplicity as multiplicity, the all as the all. He perceives unbinding, that's another word for nibbana, as unbinding, perceiving unbinding as unbinding. He conceives things about unbinding. He conceives things in unbinding. He conceives things coming out of unbinding. He conceives unbinding as mine. He delights in unbinding. Why is that? Because he has not comprehended it. So, for everything that we experience mentally or physically, which we then translate into mental experience, because you cannot pick up something, feel it, put it away and leave it. No, we got to think about it. Oh, this is slightly heavy, it's cool, it's smooth. We have to start analyzing it, and analyzing it, we're actually measuring it. We are measuring it by setting conditions on it. This is what we mean by a conditional reality. I am placing conditions on things. This is what I call a bell because it meets these conditions. For my cat, it meets other conditions. When she was younger, this was a place to hide and sleep. Now that she's older, she keeps looking inside of it for food. That's her condition. My conditional reality is different than my wife's conditional reality. My conditional reality is different than your conditional reality, because I am the process of stripping away the conditions. That's why there is no judgment of goodness or badness. There is only observation, which is translated into conventional language that one can understand. And then if you choose to place a value on that, feel free. Now the trainee, the person who comes into the practice of Dharma, yearning for the unexcelled relief from bondage, his or her aspirations yet unfilled, directly knows the earth as earth, directly knowing the earth as earth, let him or her not conceive things about the earth, let him or her not conceive things in the earth, let him or her not conceive things coming out of the earth, let him or her not conceive the earth as mine, let him or not delight in the earth. Why is that? So that they may comprehend it, so that they can understand it. Once we start conceptualizing about things, we lose the ability to understand it. It's like living with someone for 20, 30, 40 years and not knowing them. Only knowing what you think about them. Because you're measuring them, you're putting conditions on them. My wife actually told me one time, I love you only as long as you do what I tell you to do. And she was serious. And I said, fine. Bus ticket to Glorieta, New Mexico, the monastery, is only $56. It was back then. Now I think it's $256. I don't know. Probably is. And she changed her mind about that because now the conditions had changed. Reality had shifted. Oh, he might go away. How would I explain that to my friends? Well, I'm sure she would have come up with something. So, and then the Buddha continues. He directly knows water is water, fire is fire, etc., etc., etc. Even in up to nibbana, which is also sometimes used synonymously with emptiness. Does not conceptualize about it so he may comprehend it. The Arahat, the worthy one, devoid of mental fermentations, who has attained completion, finished the task, laid down the burden, attained the true goal, destroyed the fetters of becoming, is released through right knowledge, directly knows the earth as earth, directly knowing the earth as earth. He does not conceive things about them. He does not conceive things in the earth. He does not conceive things coming out of the earth, does not conceive earth as mind, does not delight in earth. And why is that? Because he has comprehended it.
What does it mean to delight in earth?
Seek pleasure out of it. If pleasure arises, pleasure arises. Don't go chasing after it. Let it arise naturally. That's one of the problems with our society, is that we have to create artificial stimulation in order to convince ourselves that we're momentarily happy. And we've never been happy at all.
I was going to ask, part of the problem with delight is it's still, on some level, it may be more subtle, but it's still reinforcing a self.
It's still reinforcing the ego.
It's not even there to begin. Again, it's another cycle. It's another trip, so to speak.
It's another rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between doing that and enjoying things?
You don't have to have an ego to enjoy things. You have to have an ego to go out and look for things. If you delight in something, you're thinking about it. Because you have to come up with a reason of why it delights you. I mean, seriously. Anybody here like chocolate? Why do you like chocolate?
Tastes good.
It tastes good. What does that good taste do for you?
Makes you feel good.
Makes you feel good. Makes who feel good?
Some dude inside here.
Yeah.
The little elf.
It's a little ego booster. It's a reward for being human. Okay.
I'm a good person.
So, the worthy one, the Arhat, devoid of mental fermentation, directly knows earth is earth, directly knows earth is earth. He does not conceive things about the earth, does not conceive things in the earth, does not conceive things coming out of the earth, does not conceive earth as mind, does not delight in the earth. And why is that? Because with the ending of passion, he is devoid of passion. This really freaks New Agers out. How can you live without passion? How can you really live with it?
Or Western society, period.
That's why passion is considered a fetter. It's something that chains you down and imprisons you. Then he goes on and says exactly the same thing, but he talks about the ending of aversion. Devoid of aversion. And then he says exactly the same thing, but he ends it with saying, because of the ending of delusion, he is void of delusion. Why is he void of passion, which is just another word for attachment, like delight is another word for attachment, lust. Passion, aversion, and delusion. Because the Arahat actually understands what is going on in his life and her life and the world around them, they can get rid of these three qualities of mind. The original big three. And he knows the all as the all. He knows Nibbana as Nibbana. Now, the Tathagata, this is how the Buddha referred to himself. But always referred to himself in third person, it seems. Why does he refer to himself in third person? Because there's no one there. There's only the physical being. The Tathagata, the worthy one, the rightly self-awakened, directly knows earth is earth, directly knowing the earth as earth. He does not conceive of things about the earth, etc., etc., because the Tathagata has comprehended it to the end.
Finished. Finished.
He's done. The ordinary person doesn't understand it. That's why they get hooked onto ideas, onto sense pleasures. They're addicted to everything. Everything from television stories to perfumes and colognes, to candy bars, to girls in tight red dresses, to guys in tight red dresses, for all I know. I don't know your tastes. Yours I know about, we talk about a lot. We talk about, whatever your addiction de jour, I don't know how to say second in French, your addiction de second, whatever that addiction is, it's because you have not comprehended it. You don't understand it. The trainee avoids these things, avoids conceptualizing about things, so he can try to understand it. The arahat doesn't have conceptualizations about life, the universe, and everything, because they do understand it. And a Buddha doesn't have conceptions about things, because not only do they understand reality and the nature of reality, but they've gone beyond it. It's done.
So Tathagata is different than Arahat. Arahat is...
Yeah, Arahat, the Buddha referred to some Arahats as Tathagata. It means one who has gone to reality or one who has come from reality. It can mean either. So we take it to mean both in this case. And it's a person who has not only fully comprehended the nature of reality, but also lives within that context. And an arahat is one who has completely understood that reality, but still has some karma left over.
Oh, okay. So, what's it, at the time of the Buddha, there wasn't the concept of the bodhisattva, which is different than the arahat?
No, the concept of the bodhisattva came much later.
Okay.
As we understand bodhisattvas today. In the original literature, there is only one bodhisattva, and that is the Buddha. A bodhisattva technically meant one who is becoming a Buddha.
So could that be an arahat, or?
Yeah, an arahat. Arahat is obviously a bodhisattva.
Okay.
Because they're going to become a Buddha. As soon as they die, pass off this mortal coil, they're a Buddha. And
but Tathagata is already a Buddha.
Tathagata, yeah. So there were some arhats running around in the Buddha's day, which were also Buddhas. The difference, according to the original canon, between a Buddha and an arahat is this: the Buddha came first, and then he rediscovers the teaching and he starts teaching. Those who attain enlightenment, a full awakening, not really crazy about the word enlightenment in this context, but those who awaken to reality and fully understand it are arhats, foe destroyers, because they have destroyed their foe. They don't care what you call them.
Yeah.
Because it's just a sound. It has no meaning.
But the Buddha is the original.
The Buddha is the first of this dispensation to give. And this is the way the historical Buddha described it. Later, about maybe as little as 200 years, maybe even sooner, the concept of Buddha as a state of mind rather than an individual arose. And so the Buddha becomes a historical person who has attained this and given us the teachings, but anyone can become a Buddha. And the idea of a bodhisattva being somehow distinct from an arhat is really kind of ludicrous. But it's a teaching that some schools of Buddhism have.
You had told us that bodhisattvas are here to awaken others, but they're not really concerned with their own awakening or something?
Okay, it's a difference in approach. One who aspires to become an arahat approaches it with this idea that I've got to get myself enlightened. That's the whole concept. Because they understand emptiness. A bodhisattva says, I have to enlighten others in order for me to become enlightened. I have to help others on the journey so I can become enlightened. And that's because there's a different interpretation of emptiness. And this is a real hot topic, and if anybody watches this video on YouTube, I'm sure I'm going to get some nasty feedback on this. There is a difference in interpretation of shunyata, emptiness. And it seems that the Pali version makes more sense within the context of the historical Buddha's teaching. Because if we look at anatta, no self, those teachings, and the teachings of shunyata, emptiness, then if I become enlightened, that benefits everybody anyway. Right. Whether I consciously go out and try to save you or not. Because all ships rise in the tide. Because there is no separation, both physically on a quantum level and mentally on the greater scheme of things, then my enlightenment means your enlightenment. There's a teaching within the Pure Land tradition that there's only one mind. And we're all using it. We're all manifestations of that mind. So if I become enlightened, no matter what my motivation was to become enlightened, if enlightenment does occur, then that directly affects you. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing it for myself or for others. But the person that gives that teaching seems not to understand the concept of emptiness. Because if they're saying, it's selfish for an arhat to become enlightened for his own benefit, then they don't understand. They're separating the arhat from the rest of reality. Reality is a unity. Mm-hmm. So whether I'm enlightening myself for myself, then I don't understand emptiness. If I really believe I'm enlightening, if I really want to become enlightened for my own benefit, then I don't understand. If I'm saying I want to become enlightened for your benefit, then I don't understand. So as long as we're using language to define these things, somebody's not understanding something. And then we take the concept a little bit further, and in some schools of Mahayana Buddhism, and I think that His Holiness the Dalai Lama actually teaches us, is that there is a benefit to postponing your enlightenment and letting everybody else become enlightened before you. Now that's what I read. I don't know what the Dalai Lama actually said that or not, but that's what I did read on some internet blog. And if that's what he said, then he doesn't understand emptiness. So I don't think he said that. Yeah. Because I can't postpone my enlightenment and let everybody else go first.
I kind of understand.
Because everybody's getting there anyway.
I kind of understood the concept of bodhisattva as someone who serves others, like a saint, who is very interested in helping others.
Yeah,
that kind of distinguishes them.
Yeah, that service to others does distinguish them, and there's another fallacy that's taught in contemporary Buddhism, and it's been around for a while, and that fallacy is that Theravada is not Mahayana. Mahayana is a movement, but if we're talking about the original term Mahayana, what that actually means, greater vehicle, then Theravada is every bit as Mahayana as Zen or Pure Land or anybody else. on account of there are two aspects of Dharma that we really have to pay attention to in our practice. One is wisdom. Wisdom is excruciatingly important. I say that because wisdom can be painful. The other is compassion. That is incredibly important as well. They balance the practice out. You have to have both. Sometimes, and the difference is, sometimes the Pali version can seem more heavy in the wisdom aspect. Zen can be more heavy in the wisdom aspect. And other schools tend to be more heavily concentrated into the compassion aspect. But they got to be really balanced, or else they don't work.
Isn't, before when you talked about the obsession of ignorance, isn't wisdom the antidote to ignorance, or was it study?
Absolutely.
Or was it study? Because you said it was
through study one gains wisdom.
Yeah, because you had said that the one obsession that can't really be countered by meditation is ignorance. You have to study.
Right. You have to. Okay. Here's the thing on that. You do have to study in order to gain wisdom. You have to meditate in order to gain wisdom. Mm-hmm. Some form of meditation, and there are in the Pali Canon alone there are like 94 different techniques that are given.
Right.
In Mahayana, maybe 3 times that many. But you have to do the meditation part. You have to study. You have to discipline yourself to live what we call a moral life.
Right.
It takes all 3 of those to gain wisdom.
Okay.
Because you need the experience, you need the self-control, you need the discipline of study, the discipline of behaving according to the 5 precepts, and the meditation. They all have to come together before wisdom can arise.
So all of those counteract ignorance?
All of them together.
Obsession, all of them together counteract the obsession of ignorance?
Yeah, because ignorance is going to be... none of these are going away. They're always going to be with you. That's why they're called latent tendencies. When they arise as obsessions, they become one of the 10 fetters.
What does the obsession of uncertainty have to do with? What
doubt?
Is that about? Doubt. Oh, that's doubt.
Yeah, that's doubt. Uncertainty is doubt. Uncertainty is confusion. As well.
Okay.
If I'm confused and I don't understand how this is going to work, I could have faith, but then it's blind faith. And the Buddha tells us not to have blind faith. He tells us to test it against direct experience and our common sense. And the emphasis is on direct experience. This is why views are a bad idea.
Okay, so
because you cannot directly experience a view.
Okay, so you need direct experience. To test. To test your doubts. To test uncertainty.
To test uncertainty. Mm-hmm.
As I say, it seems like the roads still lead back to Rome because uncertainty still has to deal with a self.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Well, who's not sure?
Who is the I that is not sure?
It's another. It's weird. They all like it, and it's another conceit, and that's another. It's all.
Yeah. Well, look at the first 3 fetters. Just to get on a spiritual path, a seriously spiritual path, or as Maslow called it, self-actualizing, you have to deal with these first 3 fetters just to get on the path. Identity views, self-identification views, the view that mistakenly identifies any one of the khandha, form, feeling, perception, mental fashioning, and consciousness, as self. The first of the 10 fetters, abandonment, self is the first of the 10 fetters. Abandonment of the Sakaya Ditti, which is what identity views are called, is one of the hallmarks of stream entry. Okay, now that you're dealing with self-identity views, who am I?
Sorry.
Who am I? Well, who are you in the moment? That's who you are. In a minute or two, it's going to change, and you'll be that person. Is uncertainty, doubt. Doubt in myself that I can do it, doubt in the teachings, doubt in the methods, doubt in my intellectual capacity, doubt. And the last one is grasping at habits and precepts. Grasping at precepts and practices, belief in the efficacy of mere rites and rituals as practiced outside the Arya path. Now, what does that mean? Well, in Buddhism we have our rituals and practices too. They are designed to condition the mind into expanding the consciousness, essentially, using New Agey language. Okay, in expanding our consciousness, we become more and more aware. Consciousness then changes. It goes through different states. It alters. It becomes more expansive. More things become apparent. More wisdom is gained. More compassion. Compassion replaces mere sympathy and pity, which are kind of useless emotions anyway, because they go back to the self. Compassion isn't about the self. Compassion is about somebody else. Sympathy is about me. If I'm feeling sorry for you, and that's sympathy in our world, if I'm feeling sorry for you, it is I that is feeling sorry, and that makes me a good person. Oh, I just boosted my ego 5 points because I feel sorry for you. That makes me a good person. I feel sorry for the rabbits in the backyard too. That's why I feed them apples every night. Neighbors aren't real happy about that, but I do it because it makes me feel good. Sympathy is one of those weird things. If we don't do it, we can never live with ourselves. Pity, even worse. Then I have objectified the individual.
Oh, I think pity is, again, it's another extreme conceit. Who are you, or am I, to take pity on anyone else? That's the most, I don't want to say what I'm thinking, but that's, so.
Yeah, it's exactly true. Pity is narcissism.
Yeah, that's the,
Purely.
yeah.
Pure and simple. Self-pity is even bigger narcissism.
And what's compassion?
Compassion is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done for somebody, without regard to what they do with the gift you have given them. In law, in the United States anyway, the federal court has adjudicated that a gift is not a gift if there are expectations. So if I'm just going to say, I'm going to be compassionate toward you and I'm going to give you $100, and then I expect you to expend that $100 in a particular way, then it's not a gift anymore. Then it's a social contract. Could be a civil contract as well. So it's like Rotary Club is having a fundraiser, and people are donating these products to, companies are donating products to the Rotary Club to auction off to benefit the Rotary Club. And so the Rotary Club, say, puts them in bundles and says, okay, bundle number 1 is going to have coffee and peanut butter and a night out at some restaurant. And this is one bundle. And the other bundle is going to have coffee and tortilla chip, whatever. It doesn't matter, but there's coffee in every one of the bundles. And then the person who donates the coffee gets really upset because the coffee was split up into 5 different bundles instead of given as one package of coffee. Guess what? It's not a donation anymore. Legally, it stopped being a donation as soon as conditions were placed to it. So, if your compassion, is based upon conditions, then it's not compassion. You give your gift, you walk on, and forget about it. You let go of it.
Is part of compassion also seeing, I was going to say, oneself in everything else? In other words, if there's someone, like, I hate that, no, that dude, well, because I am that dude.
Yeah.
Or I love that, well, it's like that, the aversion attraction, it's like, well, and understanding that's, we're all the same.
What you are describing is on page 6 of 7 of the root text, and it's called the Sabha Sutta, the all, where the Buddha says, yo, I will teach you all, listen, I will teach you the all. Listen and pay close attention, I will speak. Yeah, as you say, dude. The Blessed One said, what is the all? Simply, the eye and forms, ear and sound, nose and aromas, tongue and flavors, body and tactile sensations, intellect and ideas. This is called the all. Anyone who would say, repudiating this all, I will describe another, if questioned on what exactly might be the grounds for his statement, would be unable to explain, and furthermore would be put to grief. Why? Because it's beyond his range.
Because it lies beyond the range.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand.
He does not understand.
Wow.
He doesn't understand. So when I'm looking at you, the you I am looking at is the you I create.
Yeah.
Therefore, you are me.
Right.
There's nothing mystical. Now I'm okay. Gonna get more hate mail. There's nothing mystical in Buddhism. Nirvana is not a mystical experience. It is the experience of the unconditioned. Emptiness is not a mystical thing. It is the cessation or the absence of conditioning. Conditioned reality is not a bad thing. You need it. If you want to go to the bathroom after drinking a 6-pack of beer, which you probably would if you drank a 6-pack of beer, that is not wrong to go looking for a bathroom. You have conditioned the bathroom, you have conditioned the circumstances under which you need to go to the bathroom, but if you need to go to the bathroom, for all sakes, go to the bathroom. It is not unskillful to say, I would like a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You're creating an ego that wants a cup of coffee. That's not unskillful. That's social interaction. In this case, the ego is totally functional. But to go around saying, I like Starbucks coffee rather than the joint down the street because this is superior coffee and this is where all the cool people drink coffee, that's unskillful. That's conceit. That's becoming. That's
So
all of
is
it.
the first one enjoyment and the second one delight?
Yeah, sort of like that. The first time the first one you're enjoying it. The second one you get delighted in it because you have created a passion around it. And
also
a view.
So delight involves passion.
Yeah, delight is another way of saying passionate about. I mean, okay, the earth is the earth. Let's not go crazy about it. It's Donald Trump is now.
No.
Donald Trump is Donald Trump. We don't have to go nuts over Donald Trump.
So if you smoke a cigarette,
Amen to that.
if you smoke a cigarette and just enjoy it, that's different than this is like the best cigarette in the world. Or this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, it's like whether I smoke a cigarette or smoke my pipe. It doesn't matter. I'm there and I'm enjoying the tobacco and I'm really mindful about it, the enjoyment. I'm actually tasting it. I'm feeling the bowl of the pipe. I'm feeling the stem between my teeth. I'm feeling the smoke as it goes in my mouth. And I'm really enjoying it. But then I only have to smoke maybe every 3 or 4 hours. If I'm not being aware of what I'm doing, then I start chain smoking. That's why it is said.
Then it becomes an obsession.
Then it becomes an obsession, because then I feel insecure about not having cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't know when the last time I bought a pack of cigarettes was. For some reason, they show up though, because other people smoke. Maybe I stopped buying cigarettes and now I'm just bumming them. I don't know. I didn't quit smoking, I just quit buying packs.
It is part of wisdom also understanding, again, not to be dark, but that it's all going to end anyway. I mean, it's all going to go. It's all like, in other words, the cigarettes, you're going to be finished with it. It's going to be gone. And at some point, there won't be any cigarettes. Or the meal, like, oh, it's great, but it's gone. It's going to come and go.
Yeah.
In this where we're at.
Yeah. Part of it is the one of the ways that we can get over the passion about everything is knowing the simply that everything's going to change. Everything is impermanent. That is why we cannot be satisfied with conditional things.
Right. So it is actually wrong to say it's going to end, because it's not going to end, it's going to change.
It's going to change.
Right.
So then actually, you're always just the observer.
Always the observer. It's interesting, in our world, we always have a sentence, well, we should always have a sentence, with a subject, a verb, and an object. I am doing this. Am doing becomes the verb. I is the subject. So all our reality is subject-oriented. There's no such thing as objective reality.
Subjective.
It's always subjective.
Yeah.
It's never objective. If this is the object of my attention, I am looking at this bowl, and I am looking at it objectively. How is that possible? I just said I am looking objectively. It's not even possible linguistically, much less psychologically. Can the bowl look at me objectively? That would be true objectivity. The object looking back at the observer. But it doesn't happen like that. So it's always subjective. So what happens in living a meditative or mindful life is that we drop the I and we drop the object. Then there is just the doing. There is doing going on, or am doing, for all I know. Existence is happening. There is stuff happening because there is constant change going on perpetually. It never stops. And because it never stops, all things are possible. And nothing, strictly speaking, exists until my consciousness makes it coalesce into something that has function and value to me. Things which are not valuable to me are not in my range of consciousness. The Buddha just told us what exists in reality. What exists in reality is the 6 senses. The 5 physical senses and the 1 mental sense. That is what actually exists. It's like when Zach and I were talking. The only reason I see Zach there the way he is because I am creating a Zach over there to meet the conditions of my mind.
Mm.
I have no idea what he actually looks like. I have no idea what he's actually like. I have no idea how tall he really is. But I know what I think about his height, I know what I think about how he is, and I know what I think he looks like. But actually what he looks like, I don't know. He might look totally different to you guys. He might have darker complexion to one of you. He might have lighter complexion to another. His hair might be more than just a little bit gray in the sideburns. His hair might be salt and pepper to somebody. He might be heavier. He might be lighter. He might be gay. He might be straight. I don't know what you're seeing. When you're looking at me, I don't know what you're seeing. All I know is what I'm seeing. In this sense, reality is not. It's not real. It's all relative to how I'm conditioning it.
Nothing's personal, right?
No, it's not. It's not. In your experience, when you're having experience and you're and I'm in the way, your experience is not about me.
Right.
My experience is not about you. I can be angry at you. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
That has to do with me. I'm creating that anger. I'm allowing that anger to arise. I'm allowing my own version of neuroses to take over. If I'm walking down the street and Salma Hayek really does pass me on the street, the Salma Hayek that I experience is the Salma Hayek I create. The work experience, the job I experience is the work experience and the job I create. Not just on a psychological level. Quantum physics tells us it's on a physical level that this happens. This is why reality is so different for different individuals. Sometimes it's only slightly different, sometimes it's hugely different. Physical reality only exists because we have collectively decided that's the way it's supposed to be.
When they talk about skillful means skillful to what and whom and that. You know,
Upaya,
what meaning?
skillful means.
Okay, I think I maybe, yeah.
Okay,
I was gonna say,
upaya
like,
actually
to
means
whom or to what end?
expedient means is actually what it refers to. That which expedites someone else's or my own progress toward awakening. And that can be very different. It can be, upaya has been abused. The idea of upaya, skillful means, expedient means, has been greatly abused by people with less moral tastes than you and I have. Yet others have, and others have used it greatly. There's, it's like an expedient mean might be a teacher punches you in the mouth to get your attention. It's something that most of us would look at with a little bit of disdain. You're not supposed to be violent, but sometimes somebody needs a rap in the face. Let's quick wake up. And in the Chinese and Japanese schools, it has been used because that's part of their culture. Here we wouldn't use it because it's not part of our culture. And in India they wouldn't use it, but they have in China and Japan. Skillful means is skillful only in that it has an appropriateness, a propriety for that time and place. If it's inappropriate for that time or place, then it's not skillful anymore. And with that, I will conclude